sure. I'm just saying that, man, who knows, that's amazing. That's an impactful moment for you. And it might have also been an impactful moment for Lizzo. Maybe we'll have her on the podcast one day and we can ask her. In any event, yeah. Did you have like an aha moment at any point where you realized I'm going to be doing this like music production thing for the long haul?
Yeah. I mean, I was a terrible student. I think I'm an intelligent person. I'm good at learning stuff on my own. I'm really bad at working on things that I'm not passionate about. I get distracted. I don't get motivated. But when I'm passionate and excited about something, and even if it's menial tasks, but there's a goal that I'm excited about, that I can do. And I figured out really early on in life that was the only way that I'm going to be successful at something, is if I focus on something that I get that excited and that obsessive about, that I can keep myself motivated. So in college, the first 2 years of college, I was studying mechanical engineering. I was miserable. And all I did was play around with my synthesizer and like make stupid beats and like try and like start bands with my friends that like weren't really musicians and weren't as excited about it as me, and listen to records. And the aha moment for me was kind of like, I walked out of I was in a chemistry final. And I just kind of had a breakdown and said, enough, walked out of the classroom in the middle of the final, went straight to the music department and like walked into the counselor's office and was like, I want to drop all my classes and transfer over to music school.
Wow.
And I did that and kind of didn't know exactly what I was going to do with that. But really early, after I'd been there for a semester, because the school does not do, or at least at the time did not do a very good job of advertising this or supporting it, I found out that there was a ridiculous recording studio in the basement, like a really quality studio for a college that was staffed by this guy, Wiley Ross, who was a mentor of mine. I'm still close with him. I still talk to him. And I kind of just it's hidden behind the practice rooms. And I was just wandering around and I opened the door and I was like, what is this? I saw that was an option and that existed. And I just hounded Wiley to be around that as much as possible. And I had to wait until the next semester for an internship to open up. And, eventually just like for the rest of school, I just didn't leave the studio. Would just be there in between classes. I did a whole bunch of self-directed studies and stuff like that were basically just ways for me to like do studio projects and get course credit for them. But that was kind of the aha moment of like the combination of the like being miserable and finally reaching a breaking point and being like, I need to do something with music. And then, a good semester kind of stumbling around and being like, what do I do? And then literally just stumbling into the studio and being like, that's where I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
That's awesome. That sounds like an ideal college situation for someone who becomes an audio engineer because, like, I don't know, I just did the generic liberal arts thing and you just like, okay, I got to take the psychology class and I got to take, the statistics and like whatever. But like you used college to help you get to where you want to go, kind of.
Yeah. And the school didn't have like I studied music. My program was music theory. They had one recording class, but by being enrolled in the school, I could take an internship and work at the studio as an engineer. And, and Wiley would let me do my own projects with my friends and stuff. And, and then I got a job at the college radio station as the production director, doing like recording in studios with bands and stuff that would come in through out of town. And college became a way to facilitate me doing that. And I think for myself, with how I'm self-motivated, if I had been in a formal recording program, it probably wouldn't have worked out.
Wow. That's wild. So let's jump forward a little bit. So I was telling you before we started recording, I first learned about Eric Valentine and Barefoot Recording on the Pensado's Place videos like several years ago. So yeah, like it's clearly an amazing place to work, and it's an amazing studio. Like, how did you get the gig? And now that you're the studio manager, what's entailed in that?
Yeah, so I met Eric through there was a tech, Michael Westbrook, that was working with John Bryan when he was camped out at Capitol. Some of the first sessions that I started getting at Capitol as an engineer or as an assistant engineer were on John Bryan sessions, because he would work crazy hours and they would like rotate in the young guy to stay up all night. And so I did a lot of that, and I got to know Michael Westbrook pretty well through that. And he asked if I wanted to, if I knew how to solder or do any wiring. And I said, not really. I've fooled around. I did some in college. And he said, perfect. I'm going to show you. Now I can make you do it right. Basically, like there's no mistakes to correct. And, so I started helping him with, I think like the first thing I did was made like 300 XLRs for John Bryan, and did all that work. So Michael also worked for Eric Valentine, and for Eric's company Undertone Audio. And I started helping him with the wiring for John Bryan, at Barefoot. When I wasn't working at Capitol, I would go and do that. And got to know Eric better and better through that. And when we started ramping stuff up with Undertone and doing, making the rack gear and making more consoles and stuff like that, Eric called and asked if I would come over full time, and I did, and it was a really great opportunity for me. And did that for about 2.5 years. I think there was like 6 months of being full-time over at Undertone. And after 6 months, Eric kind of had a sit-down meeting with me and was like, hey, we're going to pivot things a little bit. We're going to do some contract manufacturers, and there's not going to be any more full-time employees at Undertone for a while. It's all, it's going to be tech support. And we were still building stuff in-house, but he wanted to pivot to go into more of a freelancer kind of model where it'd be more gig-based. And I was like, wait, I'm the only full-time employee right now. What does this mean? And it was, a really hard meeting, but the takeaway from it was that he kind of sat me down and he's like, this isn't what you should be doing. You should be out there trying to make records. And, at the time I was like, well, that's easy for you to say. Like, I need a job. I need an income. But anyways, that was the first kind of like it was a big encouragement and kind of like pushed me out of the nest, like go make some records. And the fear of like, I have no income now. I need to like start, I had quit my job at Capitol. I had just lost my job that I had moved over to from Capitol 4. And I went freelance, and within like a week, I think Eric had referred me for a studio build in Palm Springs. I did that, and that led to a whole bunch of studio builds. And then I went to go work at, and then I got a referral to put together a playback rig for a band called Maximum Headroom, which was a side project of the producer Sam Spiegel that I worked with for 4 years as his engineer, and was kind of like, anyways, I put together that playback rig and made a relationship with him and started working on everything that he did. And that was kind of what I built my career as a freelance engineer on. And that all happened really quickly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really, really crazy.
I read on the internet that he's related to Spike Jonze, the director. Wild.
We would do random cool projects with Spike. We did, one of the first things I did with Sam was the score for Bad Grandpa. With the Jackass. They made a movie, like an actual. There's a plot, it's an actual narrative film with they took the Johnny Knoxville dressing up as an old man character and did like hidden camera moments of stuff, but like tied it all together with a overarching with a plot. And we did the score for that, and that was like my first like that was one of my first like big engineer credits, or at least big for like my parents went and saw the movie and saw my name and the movie credits at the end, and that was a cool moment.
So cool.
And yeah, and so we did stuff like that, or like Spike did a play with Jonah Hill that was for Fashion Week 2015 or something like that. I don't know, it was maybe earlier than that. But it was instead of doing a fashion show for this brand, they did a one-act play, or a play with all the characters are like wearing the clothes, and it's kind of loosely, and it was a really cool thing. But so we did the score for that, and flew out to New York and did like a week of rehearsals with all the actors and everything, and it was really cool. I think it might have been my first time there. And then we did that and provided the score for it, and it was we put everything together in Ableton Live and triggered stuff on clips, and then performed that live when they did the play. And the really powerful part of it was that they didn't tell everybody where the play was going to be. They just go to this location. They put people in vans and like took them over to the Met, and they had everybody come in through the back up onto the stage, and they put bleachers up on the stage, and then we started the music, and basically Sam and I just had identical Ableton rigs so that we would both perform it. His was what everybody was actually hearing, but I would mimic his moves in case something went wrong or something crashed. Anyways, the curtains draw back, and then they see the venue, and it was this big powerful thing. It was really cool, and everybody's and then the first character comes walking down the aisle, and but yeah, and we did stuff like that with him. Or we did I guess this would have been my first trip to New York, was the YouTube Awards. They did the first YouTube Awards. They did all these like live video performances, and had like Eminem and like Arcade Fire and stuff like that. And Spike directed the whole thing, and it was live streaming, and it was first time someone had done, I think, something of that scale. Anyways, one of the bits was there was a skit where there was a DJ who was supposed to be a VG, and there's an actor playing him, and he's on stage, and Sam and I were backstage with Ableton again, right, with identical Ableton rigs, actually DJing, and I did, that was a crazy project that we did with Spike.
Wild. So what do you do as the studio manager at Barefoot Recording? What's entailed?
I mean, it's my job to make sure that the sessions are staffed, that we have to keep the place booked. When we first started everything, Eric was a little bit more involved in the sense of like, some of the final decisions and things like that. At this point, he owns it, but I make the decisions, and as long as the money's there, everything's good. But basically I run the studio and handle maintenance tasks, and we use outside techs, and all of our staff engineers are pretty decent, with a soldering iron and fixing stuff, and like, and a paintbrush, and everybody just kind of multitasks. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I do as the studio manager.
Wow. That's awesome. What's like the craziest thing that you've had to deal with running like a studio like that?
Honestly, like getting emails from heroes and things like that. And like, and being in a different role than I'm, used to, as being like someone that came up in a commercial studio environment as an engineer, and being the direct point of contact for stuff like that has been really interesting. And kind of building those relationships with people. has been really cool. Um, you know, I've been really proud of how like organic some of those relationships have been and how they've turned into friendships and how powerful those people